You wake up, check your phone, see your bank balance, feel that familiar low-level anxiety. Tell yourself today is the day you start being smarter with money. By lunchtime, you've bought something you didn't plan to buy. By evening, you've talked yourself out of starting that investment account you've been meaning to open for 6 months. And the cycle repeats. Here's the thing most people never hear. That cycle isn't a character flaw. It isn't laziness. It isn't a lack of discipline or motivation or financial knowledge. It's your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do. And the design is ancient. It predates money by hundreds of thousands of years, which means the hardware running your financial life was built for a world that no longer exists, and it is working against your wealth every single day without you even knowing it. Here is the belief most people carry about money problems. If I just knew more, I would do better. If I had more discipline, I would save more. If I just tried harder, I would finally get ahead. The entire self-help industry runs on this belief, and it's not completely wrong. Knowledge matters, discipline helps, effort counts. But it leaves out something enormous, something that sits underneath every financial decision you make before you even consciously think about it. Your brain's default settings were not configured for building wealth. They were configured for surviving a dangerous world with very little food, very little safety, and very uncertain tomorrows. And those survival settings, the ones that kept your ancestors alive, are the exact same settings that keep ordinary people broke in the modern world. Let's start with the most powerful one, the one that quietly wrecks more financial plans than any bad investment ever could. It's called present bias, and it means your brain is literally wired to value right now over later, not slightly, dramatically. Here's how it shows up in real life. You have $300 left over this month. Your logical mind knows that investing it is the smarter move, but your brain runs a different calculation. The coffee, the dinner, the small treat you've been thinking about, those feel real. The investment account feels abstract. The future reward feels distant, almost fictional. So the $300 gets spent, not because you're weak, because your brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do, prioritize immediate, tangible rewards over uncertain future ones. For a prehistoric human, this was brilliant survival logic. Tomorrow was genuinely uncertain. Eat the food now. There might not be food tomorrow. Waiting was risky. Acting now was smart. For a modern person trying to build wealth, this same logic is financially catastrophic. Because wealth building is almost entirely about doing the boring, unrewarding thing right now in exchange for a much larger reward much later. And that trade is one your default brain resists at every level. Now let's add the second setting, loss aversion. Research consistently shows that humans feel the pain of losing something roughly twice as intensely as the pleasure of gaining the equivalent thing. Losing $100 feels about twice as bad as gaining $100 feels good. This sounds harmless until you see what it does to financial behavior. It makes people avoid investing because markets go up and down, and the potential loss feels unbearable, even when the long-term trend is overwhelmingly positive. It makes people hold on to bad financial situations because changing feels risky and risk feels like potential loss. It makes people choose the safe, small, guaranteed option over the uncertain, but statistically better option again and again and again. Your brain is not calculating the best financial outcome. It is calculating the lowest emotional pain, and those two things produce completely different decisions. Here's the deeper idea I want you to sit with. The financial behaviors that look like bad decisions from the outside, impulse spending, avoiding investing, staying in financially comfortable but limiting situations, are not irrational. They are completely rational responses to the brain's internal operating system. An operating system designed for a world where immediate threats were physical, where the future was uncertain, where accumulating more than you could carry was pointless, and where the tribe around you mattered more than any abstract future goal. That operating system built civilization. It helped humans survive ice ages and predators and famine. It is genuinely remarkable technology. It just was not built for index funds and compound interest and 30-year wealth-building timelines. And this creates what you might call the wealth wiring gap. The distance between the behavior your brain defaults to and the behavior that actually builds financial security in the modern world. The people who consistently build wealth are not the ones who somehow escaped this wiring. Nobody escapes it. They are the people who built systems and structures that work with the brain's limitations instead of pretending those limitations don't exist. So what do you actually do with this? First, stop fighting your brain with willpower alone. Willpower is a finite resource. It depletes. And present bias and loss aversion are not going away no matter how motivated you feel on a Monday morning. Build systems instead of relying on motivation. Automate your savings and investments so the decision happens before your present biased brain ever sees the money. Remove the friction from the right behavior and add friction to the wrong behavior. Second, reframe future rewards in present terms. Your brain struggles to value the future version of you, so make the future feel more real right now. Calculate what your monthly investment becomes in 10 years and put that number somewhere visible. Name your investment account after a specific goal. Make the abstract tangible. The more real the future feels, the less dramatically present bias overrides it. Third, use loss aversion in your favor. Your brain hates losing things, so instead of framing saving as giving something up, which your brain resists, frame not saving as losing something you already have. You're not sacrificing spending money. You're losing future wealth every day you delay. That reframe uses the same psychological wiring in the opposite direction. These aren't tricks. They are genuine behavioral strategies that work precisely because they respect how the brain actually operates instead of demanding it operate differently. Here is what I want to leave you with. Your brain is not your enemy. It is an extraordinarily powerful survival machine operating on ancient software in a modern financial world it was never designed for. The people who understand this have an enormous advantage, not because they are smarter, not because they have more discipline, but because they stopped blaming themselves for their brain's default settings and started building around them instead. You were not born with bad money habits. You were born with a human brain. And a human brain, properly understood, can be guided toward the exact financial behaviors that build real lasting wealth, even though none of those behaviors feel natural in the moment. The wiring is not your destiny. It is just your starting point. What you build from here is entirely up to you. If this changed how you see your own financial behavior, the next video goes deeper into the specific psychological traps that keep people stuck, and exactly how to rewire your relationship with money one decision at a time.